We know that Snapchat wants to get into advertising. They've hired salespeople to actually sell ad space. What are you advising to brands and other agencies about whether they should jump on that bandwagon and work with Snapchat?
I think they're one of a number of companies that have created a really exciting and influential product in the marketplace, right? And before them, you could look at Instagram, you could look at Foursquare, you could look at Vine, and all these companies. And the biggest thing they need to do initially is grow an audience for them to monetize, whether it's through advertising or by selling new features, right? I think the biggest challenge that a lot of these companies face is adjusting the value they're providing the consumer. So, to answer your question, if the scale numbers are right and the objectives for the brand match the audience of Snapchat, then it is worth to figure out what there might be an integration piece. And I think it's not necessarily advertising. I think that's a mistake to think it's just buying a banner or an ad unit within that experience. But if I'm a brand, if I'm an entertainment entity, how can I use an application like Snapchat to enhance my fan or my user's experience, right? And I think you've seen that definitely where Instagram is used quite often as a way for celebrities to share information, like Twitter was maybe a few years ago. So I think, if the objective, the audience, and the brand makes sense, we wouldn't recommend against evaluating it.
It feels like the mobile ads that are being put out are trying to have a kind of utility aspect, and they're trying to be more useful, so that there's something that you were talking about, how consumers have more control now.
Yeah.
So advertisers need to position themselves as something that consumers actually proactively want to go out and use.
Yeah, we can't think of it as a channel. It's a platform. It's a platform that's becoming interconnected and interwoven into how we shop, how we go about our day. A lot of what we heard today is about how you could use information about location or understanding the customer to make sure you're creating an experience that's going to be mutually beneficial. No one's figured that out, and I think that's the exciting part. And also, as the formats are starting to change, I think I mentioned the rise of mobile video, which as a format, 5 years ago you could never watch streaming TV, yet the last election I watched, I think, 3 of the debates on my mobile phone, because you could do that on CNN. So I think with that, we're going to see continued shifts in consumer behavior, and marketers and advertisers and agencies are going to have to adjust the experiences they're creating within that environment.
It's like the Dreft app, the laundry detergent.
Mm-hmm.
They're advertising through an app that actually people can use to document the first 365 days of life of a newborn.
There you go.
So it has nothing to do with laundry or even saying how great they are. It's just, here's a useful service. And as someone kind of said earlier, it's like sponsoring a service as opposed to...
And that's the content piece, right? I think you're going to see, and that's a shift that's happening, where ultimately marketers, at the end of the day, they want you to buy more products, right? But they also want you to have a positive experience with the brand, which is a product, right? So the more that you can create product around your brand, the more your favorability goes up and increases, and the more that you become interwoven into their lives.
So it's a much more subtle way of promoting yourself.
Right. It's not a disruptive mechanism, which advertising became. Now, in all fairness, that was because in order to send out communications, you were relying on channels and publications that were ad supported. That's how they were created. So now that we're moving in this new world where you don't have to create content and use it that way, it's a tremendous opportunity to create the right experience for your brands and your products.